What a great way to open a podcast.
That was a good one, too, actually. That was like the perfect beer opening sound.
Yeah, it was like really snappy.
Yeah. It was like, it had that like nice hiss and then it was a good snap. So it was like, whoof. I hope it carries over onto the audio. Anyways, hello everybody. And welcome to another episode of This Is Your Brain on Podcasts. I know it's been a while since we have released any content whatsoever. And I do apologize for that. And I guess just to kind of start off, I'm just going to give a little explanation as to, I guess, why we haven't been publishing any content. Mm-hmm. I should introduce, I'm joined by Tierra Penner.
Hi.
On this podcast. She says hi. This feels weird. It's been so long. It's been like 2 months. I haven't done any podcasts in 2 months, and I just feel like weird and I don't know.
Gotta get back your groove.
It's new, exactly. It's strange.
You
Anyways,
threw off the Emperor's groove.
Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just guessing.
That was pretty obvious.
Exactly, because I barely even remember that movie, to be honest with you.
Oh,
I remember the TV show. That was a good TV show.
I've never seen the TV show, but that movie was like one of my favorites.
It's a good movie. It's a pretty solid. Anyways, explanation time as to why maybe we have been absent for a little bit. So, obviously COVID-19 hit us all, took us all for a surprise. I was still kind of producing at that time, but it was really hard for me. I struggled to be creative in those times. And I think it's because that I was also struggling to eat healthy, to be active, and to do stuff like that. So it was kind of having an overall effect on me. And then also at the beginning of June, that's when the whole Black Lives Matter movement kind of really started gaining steam, and all that stuff on the news was going down with George Floyd and stuff. And so for the month of June, at least, we kind of decided to at least pause production of podcasts to let more important voices kind of shine through and highlight that. And I also kind of tried to highlight some of the content that we had made in the past that maybe also kind of had those voices in them and that message in it. So that's why June was kind of quiet. And then I fully, honestly expected to come back in July. I sent out the newsletter. Everything was like, I got a couple podcasts planned. I was actually planning on doing this podcast that we're doing right now in July. But stuff happened. There were weddings, there were vacation trips. Me and Tierra took a trip to Jasper. Super dope. Yeah, it was lots of fun. But unfortunately, there was also loss and death. And I know that, at least your grandfather passed away.
Yeah.
And then we also lost a member of our family, unfortunately. Our cat, Chester, who, many of you, if you are fans of the show at all, he's the one who's constantly meowing in the background. Anyways, he unfortunately got hit by a car, actually right in the middle of our vacation. We found out kind of, I guess it was, I don't know, we had like 3 days left on vacation, but we ended up coming home early. And that's just been really kind of, that whole thing was kind of just threw me for a loop emotionally and just kind of threw me off a lot of my game,
Yeah, well, he was such a big part of our lives. I don't know, I've been home during COVID the whole time, so it was me and the cats, and I felt a little bit like a crazy cat lady, but Chester was always there, and every day he'd crawl into my lap, and I knew what his routine was, and he kind of adjusted to mine, and it was a big blow.
Yeah, and it's just been, as anybody who's lost a pet, it's taken some time to adjust to it, and kind of, I hate the term, but it is the new normal now to have a life without Chester. And that, as sad as that is, there are obviously, I also took some lessons away from his passing and stuff like that. And the biggest one I would say is that, you never really, life is so it can be taken away so suddenly, and I think we all know that. So you never really know when your last moment with somebody is going to be, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
So I guess the biggest thing I took away from it is to kind of, you know, make every moment count with the people that you love, and because you never know, life is fragile and it can be taken away at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it's probably the biggest lesson I took away from that. But yeah, like I said, it's been hard to adjust. He was such a big part of my life, and life is definitely a little bit less good without him in it. I've had good days, I've had bad days, and you know, he was my little buddy, and he was always there for me during the tough times and the good times, and no matter what, if I was having a bad day or something, I could just think of Chester, going and getting to see Chester at the end of the day, and it would like at least pick up my spirits a little bit. So like not having that is a little hard, because I feel like the bad days are a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Because I just don't have my little dude who follows me around and doesn't care what I'm doing. He just loves me unconditionally because I give him food.
I'm sure he loved you for other reasons.
Yeah, I'm sure. I would like to think so, at least. But, I mean, I'm sure it's primarily because I pet him and gave him food. But
well, you know, the last little while I had been feeding him.
Yeah.
But he was still definitely following you around.
Mm-hmm. This is true. But anyways, we at least did get to say goodbye, you know, kind of in our own way. We had a little memorial, I guess, out in the backyard when we got home, and we buried him and put rocks all over his grave, and we buried him with some of his favorite cat toys and stuff like that.
He was buried like a pharaoh.
Yeah, he was buried with the highest honors that we could give him in our backyard under a pile of rocks.
It's a very nice little cairn we built out of rocks.
Yeah, there's some like wildflowers growing near it. It's actually a nice little area. I do want to kind of like make a little marking, I think. Maybe just a little thing that says Chester or something.
Well, I thought I'd get some oil paints.
Yeah.
Paint a little Chester.
Yeah. Like you're going to paint a portrait of Chester?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm going to paint his name, and underneath I'm going to put the friendliest asshole.
Yeah. He was the friendliest asshole. And like, it kind of leads me, like, cats I feel like really take on kind of the personality of their owners a little bit. Like, a lot of the cats that I know are so similar in like cat forms to the people who own them.
Okay, well, here, let's do an example, because I don't see it. But how is my cat like me?
I don't know. I haven't really thought of that one, to be honest with you. She's sporadic, like you are. Random spurts of energy.
That's fair.
Go, 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 go. Oh, okay, sleep.
That is very similar.
Go, 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 go. Oh, sleep. Whereas, like, I don't know. Like, for example, at Tori's wedding, my brother, I was the best man, and his fiance, when introducing the wedding party, wrote into the speech, like, Cody, the asshole. And she knew that it was fine, and she actually even checked with me beforehand, and I thought it was hilarious, but, like, you know, Chester being the friendliest asshole in the world, like, I'm kind of an asshole, but I'm also super friendly, and, like, I don't know. I just kind of feel like cats kind of take on the personalities of their owners a little bit, especially maybe if you've, like, raised them from a kitten.
Is that, like, the kind of conspiracy, or not conspiracy, but the thing where, like, dogs start to look like their owners, or owners start to look like their dogs?
Yeah, maybe. That's, like, a thing, too, and, like, couples too. Couples, like, the longer they are together, the more and more they start to look alike, I feel.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely some couples out there that I'm like, you fit maybe that's how you can tell that they're, like, good for each other, because they just, like, look like they should be together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like puzzle pieces.
Yeah, it's just like you two obviously are dating because, like, you look almost identical. Like, you look like you're dating. You don't have to go as far as, like, matching, clothes or anything like that. But, yeah. Anyways, so yeah, that's kind of what's been going on over here. And that's why we haven't been putting out any content over the past couple months. But super happy that it was also really hard to get motivated to actually do this. like being off for so long, it was hard to find the motivation to just again do. I've been struggling with motivation recently, and I'm trying to get better. But even just to find the motivation to kind of do this and sit down and talk, and it's kind of weird because as I'm talking and as we're doing this, I'm remembering why I like to do this.
Well,
and
that's
like
good.
why it's fun and stuff like that.
I had a very similar experience. I was like, I should go work out. The gyms are open now. I just have to book, blah, blah, blah. Until then I finally went and swam, and I'm like, gosh, I miss swimming. I understand why I miss this now.
Yeah. And it's like they say, like the hardest part of any project or any creative thing or whatever it may be working out is actually just doing it and getting started.
Yeah.
Because once you get started and once you are doing it, it's like, oh yeah, this is like...
Well, you started the momentum now.
Well, yeah, but also like getting started is the hardest part. Doing the thing, actually doing the thing and taking that first step is the hardest step to take.
Yeah.
It's like going from complete inaction to action. You know, it's like... a good analogy, I guess, is like a car going from complete stop to accelerating. You're using a lot more.
Yeah, well, that's just physics. It's like getting something to go from a stop to a motion is harder than just to continue something motion.
Yeah, an object in motion stays in motion. Isn't that a law?
No.
Okay, whatever. Anyways, that kind of physics law, apply it, but the correct one. Damn. Anyway, so for this podcast, I just kind of want to check in. There's obviously been things going on that we can talk about, and I wanted to kind of weigh in with my opinions on some things. They're probably not too different than some of the opinions that are floating around out there, but just kind of wanted to, give where I stand on some issues. And obviously, at the beginning of August, the mandatory mask thing here in Calgary took effect. So it is now a bylaw that you must wear a mask in all public places, I believe. Yeah. Indoor public places.
It's in any public place and public transport.
Okay, yeah. And honestly, okay, that's totally fine with me, honestly. I don't know. I'm not really the biggest fan of government coming in and telling people kind of, that you have to do this or you could be fined or whatever. It's not like just the whole concept of that I'm not a huge fan of.
I'm sure that people had similar feelings when they started fining people for not wearing seatbelts. Yeah.
I mean, that one I don't get, but I guess the only logic behind that one is like you're not only a danger to yourself, you're a danger to anybody else who you get into a car accident with.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if it is just you who you're affecting, I don't think that there should be laws against it. You know what I mean? Like, say, if you want to wear, if it was only you who'd be affected by wearing a seatbelt or not, I don't think that there should be a law against you wearing a seatbelt. Me personally, that's what I think. Mm-hmm. Like, if you don't want to wear a seatbelt, you obviously understand that, like, wearing a seatbelt is beneficial, and if you don't want to wear it with all the information that you have, then you shouldn't be forced to wear it, I don't think.
Yeah, but, there was so many, even with all of that information when the new seatbelt law came into effect, it was, a big thing where people didn't want to wear them. And we have, I think, probably on par, similar amount of information on the fact that masks do help, and people are still against it. So I think that they are very parallel.
Yeah, I just think I don't know. Is the reason that you have to wear a seatbelt, is that just because you could be a danger to other people? I'm not honestly.
I don't remember for sure, but it is it did reduce the amount of deaths and stuff, and I think that wearing a seatbelt was more kind of if you see a child at a crosswalk, you're less likely to jaywalk. You're doing it for the children. You're putting a seatbelt on your child.
Okay, yeah.
And you're putting a seatbelt on yourself to show a good example for your child.
Okay.
Type of a thing.
Fair. I think the best analogy that I kind of seen out there floating around for the whole mask thing is it's obviously a way more extreme example, but during World War II, London and stuff had like mandatory blackout laws.
Yeah.
So at night you had to everybody had to turn off their lights, you know?
Yeah.
Because, and the thing is if you didn't turn off your light, you weren't just endangering yourself, you were endangering everybody around you.
Yeah, like a lot.
Yeah. So like it's obviously that's a way more extreme example than masks, but they do kind of parallel each other where you're not just doing it for you. You are putting other people at risk by not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Because masks aren't there to prevent you from getting COVID-19. It's to prevent you from spreading COVID-19.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it does stop the spread in the fact that, like, if I wear a mask, I'm less likely to expel particles that much faster.
Yeah.
So, like, no, it doesn't stop it completely from me catching it, but it does stop particles from coming into my mouth directly.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, like, I'm not one of those people who are going to yell at somebody for not wearing a mask. I'm not even going to make a comment to them, honestly. Like, if you don't want to wear a mask, like, honestly, I don't care if you don't want to wear a mask. Whatever. Just, if you have all this information that has been provided and you still don't want to wear a mask, that's your choice, man. Like, I'm going to focus on me, and I'm going to wear a mask when necessary, and that's all I can do, you know? I can focus on me. But me telling some other person to wear a mask or that they're an asshole for not wearing a mask, that's not going to make them wear a mask.
No, and, like, then you're just policing something that you have no control over.
Exactly.
And it just makes you feel worse when they don't, or when they argue back.
Yeah, or it's like, it's an unnecessary argument that I don't need to get into.
Yeah.
Like, I can control me, so I'm going to control me. I'm going to set the example. Like, one of the things that, early on, like early in my 20s, a thing that really kind of resonated with me that somebody said, it was Gandhi, but it was, what's that thing? Shit.
Oh, I know.
It's like one of my credos, and it just like left my brain.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. Fuck, it's that super famous Gandhi thing. It's basically like, be the change you want to see in the world. I can't believe that was so hard for me. Holy crap, the brain is weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that's like kind of how I've progressed. That's how I kind of try and live my life. Like, I do the things that I want to see happen in the world.
Yeah, it's similar to, like, the quote. Sometimes I take care of some kids, and one of the quotes that they have on their board is, if you can't find a kind person in the world, be one.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, set the example. Just do the best you can, be the best you can, and just live your life.
Yeah.
People really need to, nobody's going to change their mind by you coming up and being like, yo, you're wrong and you need to do this.
No.
They're probably just going to double down and be like, no, I don't need to do this and here's why. And then you're going to get into a fucking argument.
It's like, it's like when somebody's like tailgating you and you're going like 5 over, and then you're like, well, fuck it, I might as well just go the speed limit, and then you slow down and they're angrier, but it makes you go the speed limit even more just to piss them off.
Yeah. But it's just like, exactly, people do not change their minds by being told that they're wrong.
Yeah.
They don't. If you tell, like, no.
Unless they've already, like, started to question it.
Yeah. But it's not, it's more so, at least personally, the way that I have changed my opinions is it's a slow process, and also it's because of people just having normal conversations with me.
Yeah.
Because then I get to see their side of the story.
Yeah. You'd be more effective if you walked up to somebody and been like, hey, why aren't you wearing a mask?
Yeah, exactly. Try and get to know them and, like, why, like, they might even have a good reason. Like, not everybody should be wearing masks. There are some people with, like, breathing disorders or something that masks do.
Something I saw about that is, like, it was a sign in a restaurant. I don't know where from. Somewhere in Canada, obviously. Or probably Calgary, because it was the mandatory mask thing. And it was, like, masks are mandatory in our restaurant. If you're not wearing a mask because of a medical reason, you should probably think why you're in a restaurant during a pandemic.
Yeah.
And if you make up a medical reason, just go home, because we don't have time to deal with your bullshit.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I get that for sure. But if there is an actual medical reason. Like,
going grocery shopping is like, okay, I can't wear a mask. I have, like, really severe asthma or something. And I can't wear a mask going grocery shopping. Yeah, or, like, doing mandatory things. But, like, maybe don't go to a bar.
A bar, maybe not. But, like, also the thing is like, mental health is a thing too.
No, of course.
And, like, being cooped up all that long or for this long and not being able to go out, like
It's
that
difficult.
is going to affect your mental health.
Yeah.
So like I kind of see both sides on that. Like I understand where the restaurant's coming from, but I also understand if somebody has a legit issue like asthma or something and they can't wear a mask but they want to go to a restaurant, I get that. Because being locked up,
It sucks.
it sucks.
Yeah.
We all know it sucks now. Like
Yeah.
we have, for the most part, I feel like experienced that, and some maybe to more extremes than others.
Yeah, man, when it first started, I had like a slight fever. It was just the flu. I like was negative. I didn't have COVID, but I like remember that I was told to quarantine for 2 weeks, and so I literally did not leave the house for 2 weeks. I didn't go grocery shopping. I didn't do anything, and I remember you were like, I'm just gonna drive over here and do something. I'm like, can I just ride in the car?
Oh yeah, you did do.
Like, please, I just need to get out of the house. I'll just sit in the car.
I totally forgot about that. You were like, "Can I come for a car ride?" I was like, "Are you a dog?"
Yeah, and I was like, I'm going crazy. I need to get out of the house, even if it's just for like half an hour.
It's like, did you want me to roll down the window so you can stick your head out, or? Yeah, no, and so exactly. So like,
Yeah.
you like. Being alone and confined to your house also sucks. So, that's kind of a thing. Anyways, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of the government telling us that we have to wear masks. And I'm not going to be the person who yells at you for not wearing a mask. I'm going to wear a mask. I'm going to do my best. And I think that it's really stupid that we're letting something like a face covering, a piece of fabric that you have to wear across your mouth and nose. I don't understand how this has become like a partisan issue, and we're letting it like divide society into the people who think that you should be wearing a mask and the people who don't.
I guess. I see, I don't know. Just calling it like a face covering is kind of like taking away what like is the real issue is here. Like, if we were saying, oh, a piece of fabric divides us and that's silly, well, like, it's happened before.
Oh, I know. Hijabs, anybody?
Yeah, like I was gonna say, like a lot of like Islamic communities where like pieces of fabric that we've been very racist against as a Canadian society.
That's very true.
So like just narrowing it down to a piece of fabric doesn't really hit home.
Yeah. It is obviously more than that. Like, it is doing your due diligence and preventing the spread of a disease. And I guess the only thing that I would say to people who are so adamant against like not wearing masks or about not wearing masks is like, what if I told you that like wearing that mask would prevent 10 deaths directly, you know?
Yeah.
You wearing a mask would prevent 10 deaths. Would you be more inclined to wear a mask, or would you keep spouting off about your freedoms and stuff like that? And I agree. Personal freedoms are very important. But also, just being kind to your fellow man, your fellow human, is also very important. Even if it was one death, if you wearing a mask would directly prevent one death, like, what's the issue here? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's stupid. Like, the science that we currently understand says that wearing masks helps prevent the spread of COVID-19. So, people die from COVID-19. And yes, I get it. People die from the flu, too. Okay, cool, whatever. If that's your argument.
But it's like one thing about COVID-19 is we don't know the long-term effects.
Exactly. We don't know about this disease right now. So, like, hey, maybe in 2 years it comes out, it's like, oh, remember how we all told you that you had to wear masks? That did fucking nothing. Who cares? Right now, to our understanding, it helps prevent the spread and helps prevent death.
Yeah.
So, like... And, okay, so if in 2 years it comes out that the masks did nothing, oh, wow, you had to put a piece of fabric over your face.
For like 6 months.
When you were in public spaces. Not even all the time. It's just when you're in public spaces around people. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. And then the people, I don't know, I've seen the argument online. It's like, this is encroaching on my personal freedoms. It's like, okay, whatever. Don't wear a mask. I don't care. But that freedom argument, it goes both ways. Like... Stores have the freedom to say you cannot enter our establishment without a mask on. Like, yeah. So, like, if you don't want to wear a mask, that's fine, but don't bitch about it when a store refuses you service or...
Yeah, because they have the right to refuse service to anybody.
Of course. So, like, that's my only thing. It's like I said, if you don't want to wear a mask, I don't care. just don't bitch about it when you get refused service, or because that is what the law is right now.
Or if you get a fine, like, you
Yeah.
can't bitch about getting a fine for something that you told you'd be fined for.
Oh, yeah. Everybody knows that you will get a fine now if you are not wearing a mask in a public space or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if how well they're enforcing that or whatever, but, like, they have told you, so do not bitch about it if that is something that happens to you and you refuse to wear a mask. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be surprised on that front, I guess.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I've kind of harped on this enough. I feel like we're all kind of sick of the COVID-19 stuff with the masks, and I feel like all angles have kind of been like pounded into the ground and beaten to death, and we're just beating a dead horse at this moment. But I just kind of wanted to put my opinions on the things out there because I haven't been as vocal as some people, and like, yeah, so those are my opinions on masks and COVID-19 and stuff, and like, I don't know, just do your personal best, I guess, is what I'm trying to advocate. Like, if you think wearing masks is that, then do that, you know, like, do your best. That is it. So
Yeah. That's all we can really ask of anybody.
yeah, be the best person you can be.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what you're doing and lead by example. Don't lead by yelling at people and then go and do your own shitty thing, you know? Like, there's lots of people like that. So, yeah. Anyways, so I guess another kind of big topic right now that we're all kind of aware of is the whole Black Lives Matter movement and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that just because we're not seeing it constantly on our dashes, whether it be Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever, because we're not constantly seeing it, doesn't mean that it's not still an issue.
No.
I think that it's still a huge issue, and that people got onto this bandwagon, and now that they're not seeing it every hour of every day, they kind of like almost forgot about it.
Some people, for sure.
Which, like, is frustrating.
Yeah. But that's what society is now, you know? People, like, look at fucking Tiger King. Look at how how obsessed every single person was about fucking weeks. For like 2 weeks. Super obsessed. Everybody's like, "Yo, have you fucking seen Tiger King? Yeah, that shit's crazy."
And if you hadn't seen it, you were like, "I should really go watch this."
But now nobody talks about Tiger King. Like, no. I didn't even they released that supplementary episode. I didn't even watch it because I didn't even care anymore. Like, it was already gone. Like,
yeah, but I think that this is such like a big issue.
No, yeah, this is obviously way more important.
Not even just like in the U.S., but like in Canada, in the world, even. It's just this so much of a big issue that even though we're not seeing it every day on our feeds and on our dashes, it doesn't mean that it's gone away. And I think that we need to be hyper aware of it now.
Yeah.
Because like we weren't before. And that was a problem, obviously.
Yeah. And just as I wasn't, or just as I don't know. My opinion on like the whole mask thing actually kind of changed and developed as we went through COVID-19. I thought masks were stupid at first, but I obviously evolved as a human being. I guess what I'm coming to at that is my opinions on, we are both white people, and we were talking about this, but my opinions on white privilege have evolved and changed over the years. You know what I mean?
Which is like, it's a sign of growth. Like, you have to, if you don't see the issues, then obviously you don't respond to them. But like now that these are like big issues and they're out in the world, and like we've all seen the video footage of all of this terrible things happening. And so like, how could you not change how you respond to that?
Yeah, and where I was going with that is like, on previous episodes of this podcast, like some of the more earlier episodes, I may have been like, I don't know, white privilege I thought was stupid and like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, honestly, kind of like the typical people who are harping against it right now. But over the years, and this again comes from like personal examples in my life from people who I have met and just have shared their stories with me. I understand what white privilege is. And I understand that I have it and when that comes into play. You know what I mean? Like, the biggest example I got is I used to have a friend, and they were from Iran. And we were talking one time, and they told me, like, I'm just so sick of people always asking me where I'm from. I was born here, and people come up to me and we'll be talking, or they're like, where you're from, and then they're like, I am from Canada. I was born here. And then, people are usually like, oh no, but like, where are you from? But it's like, talk about making me not feel like I belong in this country. When you come up and be like, where are you from? It's like, I'm from here.
Yeah.
So, like, I get it. That was actually one of the biggest turning points for me. It's like, I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Because I look like I'm from here.
Yeah. Actually, I briefly felt bad before my friend corrected me, but, like, the night of the big explosion in Beirut, we had friends over, and, I had never really talked with Simon and, like, didn't really know his background or his history or whatever. But he's on his phone. He's like, oh, my God, this is happening right now. You have to see this. I have family here. And I was like, oh, are you from Lebanon? And honestly, immediately I was like, I am so sorry. I, like, didn't mean it like that. And he's like, no, like, I was born there. Yeah. But it's fine. Like, it's okay. I'm Canadian now. And I'm like, no, I know that. I just felt really bad asking in that moment. He's like, it's fine. I mentioned I had family there. And I'm like, I know, but like...
Yeah, well, it's just... I mean, I think it's fine if you talk about stuff like that in a healthy manner and with, like, people you know.
Yeah.
It's obviously different. But when strangers are coming up to you and asking you, like, oh, where are you from or whatever, it's
and, like... I've never had to experience that either. And it's... Yeah.
That is, like, what the definition of white privilege is. And, like... Yeah, it's like, it took me a really long time to actually acknowledge that I had that and to, like, kind of really look into it a little bit deeper and kind of, like, come to terms with that in a way. And it was very healthy for me.
Yeah. And
I'm glad it happened in my life. And it made me more, again, just... aware of other people in the world and how that they experience life, Yeah. Because everybody's experience of life is not yours.
Yeah. I think it was a little bit different for me because I am a woman and I'm marginalized in different ways. Yeah. Obviously not the same ways, but, like, being put into boxes and being not treated the same as white men, like, it kind of gave me, like, that viewpoint of being like, there are people that are treated worse than me, and that is awful and it should not happen. But, like, it kind of, there was instances of being like eye-openers of being like, wow, like, even as a woman I'm still white and I still have more privilege than many other people.
And to be honest with you, if you live in Canada, you have more privilege than a lot of people. Like, no matter what your skin color, no matter who you are, if you're living in Canada, chances are you have probably if you live in Canada and you're listening to this podcast, at least, chances are you have a lot more privilege than a lot of other people in the world.
Yeah. So it's a hard thing to kind of, like, recognize in yourself, though.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, the only perspective that you have of the world is your own perspective.
Yeah.
So if things are going bad in your life, it feels like end all be all. And it might be, but, like, it doesn't mean that you are still not more privileged than some people in the world.
Or, like, that your problems don't go away because of your skin color.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Anyway, I do think that, honestly, being a woman gives you a little bit more kind of insight into the plight of other people. I think, honestly, most women are just more naturally empathic, but also I think because you have been marginalized in different ways, it, like, kind of, at least you have a starting point. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm a white male.
You're a straight white male.
Straight white male. I'm literally, like, the devil in a lot of super far left circles. But, like, so I think it took me a little longer to get to the place where I'm at. Like, I've always been a very empathic person, but it took me a really long time to, well, not a really long time, because it's happened before I was 30, but I mean, it took me a little bit longer than maybe some other people to, like, kind of recognize the privilege that I do have, and, recognize that I have it a lot easier than a lot of people out there. And it's not, honestly, to discount anybody's problems or discount any of the stuff that people do go through. It's really hard when people are telling you that like your pain doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like sometimes.
Everybody like kind of experiences their experiences different. Like if I went through a really hard time and I would tell people about it when they asked, and they would be like, "Oh man," like I had like a couple of people be like, "Oh man, like I feel like my problems are so insignificant compared to what you went through."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, your problems are exactly as hard as you think they are.
They were just different.
They're just different, and we're coming from them from very different places."
Yeah, exactly. It's like pain in life and suffering in life is still suffering. No matter, like, the suffering is real. No matter what is causing it, the external kind of causes are different, and they're going to be more extreme, less extreme, but suffering is still suffering.
Yeah, and like the Black Lives Matter movement is important because like we all go through very similar experiences. Like I'm sure many people have struggled with mental health through this, but not only have they struggled through mental health, now they've struggled through like riots and protests and like being seen and like trying to be heard. And like we didn't really have to experience that. We just struggled with mental health. Yeah.
Well, and it's just like, I think one of the big things right now is like, again, like this issue especially is super partisan. It divides people. The Black Lives Matter, like, you know, you obviously get the people who, I have an uncle who sent me this whole thing in my Facebook message. It was a video about like how the Black Lives Matter movement is bullshit. My only thought was like, how is this affecting you, dude? Like, how does this have any impact on your life if these people just want to be heard? It's not like they're affecting your life or taking anything away from you.
Yeah, and that's the thing with like the All Lives Matter. And I didn't understand at the beginning of all of this of why the difference in sayings mattered so much.
Yeah.
But it's because like I saw a comic and it was like a house was on fire and there was a guy spraying a hose on his house that wasn't on fire. Yeah. And he's like, all houses matter. And the guy's like, right, but my house is on fire right now.
Yeah, exactly. And like, that was a very, like, kind of an eye-opening comic for me too.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, well, you showed it to me. But anyways, it's weird that like a comic is the thing that kind of made me go like, because at first I was like, yeah, like obviously Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter. And I wasn't saying it as like a response to Black Lives Matter. I was just saying it as like I truly believe that we're all fucking human. No matter what the color of your skin is, no matter what your sexual orientation, no matter who you are, we're all human. We are all part of the human race.
Yeah.
That is why it is called the human race. Just because your skin color is different does not mean that you should be treated any differently.
But that's how it's been for...
I know that is how it's been. But like, I'm just saying what my beliefs are.
Yeah.
But I understand why Black Lives Matter is a thing. It is because they are the ones who are being like persecuted right now. They are the ones who are being killed by police. And yes, white people get killed by police. I get it, but the proportions are slightly off there. So
yeah, and also it's not like, I don't know, the way that black people are killed by police is so different than white people. Like white people maybe they're like domestic abuse or they're like robbing somewhere or something, but like there's been black children that have just been walking home suspiciously, I did the air quotes there, and they've been shot in the back. And like, how is that the same as a police officer shooting a white person because they're in a shootout?
I mean, just so you know, white people get killed as well. Like there's a famous video where an officer is like, I don't know, there was a noise complaint at a hotel or whatever, and it's a white guy, and he tells him to get on his knees and crawl and stuff, and he basically degrades him. And as he's like crying, and as he's crying, crawling towards this police officer, he's trying to pull up his pants because he's fucking crawling, and the cop just fucking executes him essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens to white people as well, but not to the amount that it happens. Like there are like, the thing that we do have to realize from all of this is that there are just fucking evil people out there.
And they have like this great opportunity because they go to school for what, like 4 months to be police officers?
No, that's the craziest thing is that you can be a police officer within like 4 months, and
Like, you basically do nothing, and then they give you the power to kill people.
Well, and the problem is that, like, with a job like that, there are obviously going to be, like, there are just bad people out there.
Yeah. And that is a job that, like, draws bad people.
It could, yeah, because it gives you power over other people. There are people out there who just want power over other people.
Absolutely.
And, like, honestly, like, I really hate that this movement has kind of put it that all cops are bad. I really don't believe that all cops are bad.
So I don't believe that either, but I also really, really hate the Blue Lives Matter because it's not the same. Blue lives, so police officers go home and they take off their police uniform and they go out on the streets and they're no longer police officers. But black people can't do that. They can't take off their skin and walk around like white people, right? So yeah, everybody's life matters. But a police officer can take off their uniform. And so, no, blue lives, that is a ridiculous, offensive statement, and I hate it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that statement, for sure. I do think that if you are willing, if your intentions are correct, and you become a police officer for the correct reasons, because you want to help people, I think that is why a lot of police officers get into policing and stuff like that.
So you're a good person that got into the police business to help people. Great. Then you see other police officers take action against these people that they shouldn't have taken action against. And you call them out and you get fired. Or you don't call them out and you keep your job. What do?
Yeah, I get that. The culture is obviously very toxic.
And so, like, you can't be a good person and stay in the police force for very long.
I think you can. I depends on which we are making massive generalizations here. I think it really depends which police force you belong to.
That's fair. But like, if you're seeing stuff like that and you don't call it out, are you still a good person?
I think you should call it out for sure, but I think that, like, to become, especially nowadays, to become a police officer, with it being such a hated profession, at least if you are in it for the right reasons and you genuinely just want to help people, that is a fucking noble profession.
Yeah, but there's so many other professions that you help people.
Yeah, sure, but to actually stop people who, like, if you want to stop people who rape people, if you want to stop people who murder people, I don't know, like, because that's what the police does.
So yeah, but then you have to be like more like a detective, I think.
Yeah, that's fine. I get it. Like, I just don't think that these polarizing statements, these ultimatums, basically.
I think that the polarizing statements are dividing us.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Is like when you say all police are bad, that is the police who are on your side and who believe in you. When you're saying all police are bad, they are now, it kind of like isolates them.
But it hasn't. Not really, because there's been, in protests, there's been police officers that will put down their, like, batons and their shields and all of their riot gear and stuff and protest with the people.
Yeah.
And those are probably better cops than the people that are hitting the protesters and shooting shit at them.
But, like, again, just as a thing is, you obviously have both good cops and you have bad cops, right?
Yeah.
And maybe there's more bad cops than good cops. Maybe there's more good cops than bad cops. I don't know. I don't really know any police officers personally.
Me neither.
But it's the same with protesters, you know? You have good protesters and you have bad protesters.
Well, you have the people that go to protest legitimately just to loot.
Well, to loot or cause shit or break things. And it's like, you're giving the protests a bad name or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
It's like, obviously this is a problem, but... And honestly, the media coverage doesn't do anybody any favors on either side. Like, it's ridiculous. We live in such a crazy time right now.
Yeah.
And it's just so, like, I just feel like statements where all blank is so dividing. And we just need to be careful about that, because sometimes when you make statements like that, you're isolating people or neglecting people who might be on your side if you just gave them the chance.
Yeah, something I saw, it was another comic, but it was like, defund the police, and it's been a really, really hot issue is defund the police, and I personally agree with that. But a lot of people didn't really understand what this statement meant. Like, I've talked to friends that, like, saw this comic. They're like, I get it now. And it's a comic where this police officer is holding all of these boulders.
Yeah.
And they're, like, social work and drunk people and people that have, like, mental health disorders and stuff like that. And even, like, homeless and whatever else. And he's holding all of this stuff. And this person comes and like, defund the police. So he's like, well, how, if you give the police less money, how are the police going to carry all of these things? But defund the police isn't about making the police officers carry all these burdens. It's about spreading them out over society. So it's about, like, giving communities more money so that less people become homeless. It's about providing affordable housing for people. It's about putting addicts not in jail but into recovery.
Yeah, I think it's just like it's providing more social programs. And
Absolutely.
And it's also providing people, like, honestly, do I think that police should be making, they're called, what, well-being checks? Or
I don't know.
I forget what they're called, but basically it's a check to be like, oh, this person is basically suicidal.
Yeah, no, that should be done by a social worker or somebody that has gone to school to deal with that kind of situation.
But, like, that job doesn't exist right now. That's the thing, right? So you call the police, and they go in, and then, at least in Canada, it seems like a lot of times, especially if you're Indigenous or a person of color,
you get put in jail.
Well, you get killed.
Yeah.
But I don't think that the police. I think the police should be dealing with the truly bad things in society.
And the cartoon ended with that guy just holding the boulder of keep the peace.
Keep the peace. He should be dealing with the murderers, the rapists, the robberies, the unrest. But you shouldn't be called because some dude's drunk in a parking lot.
Or, like, somebody's taken off all their clothes. Like, that's obviously, like, a mental health thing.
And it's a non-violent offense.
Yeah.
Like, I get it if maybe... I get it if you maybe need a police officer present, just because if things do turn violent, it would be nice to have somebody there who...
Well, I think that if we do defund the police and those organizations get more money to train people up in this, that they should also train them in how to de-escalate situations from violence.
Yeah, true. But also, like, no matter what, like, as much as you can like, some situations are going to turn violent.
Yeah.
And you just need to have the proper training to deal with those situations.
But if a police officer can be trained in 4 months, those people can also be trained in that time to deal with that.
The thing is police officers, I don't think, can be trained in 4 months.
No,
I think
they
need
a
lot more extensive training, and I think that they should be required to do continuous training.
Continuous training and psych evaluations.
Yeah, continuous training and psych evaluations. I definitely agree with that. Just like, because honestly, being a police officer, like, I'm sure being a firefighter or whatever, anything that's like emergency or an EMS person, like, where you're first on the scene to, like, brutal car accidents or people who have been murdered or raped or children being killed. Like, you don't understand. I don't know if some people understand what police officers actually have to deal with, and I'm sure what effect that has on their mental health.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that, well, like, I think it was like a tweet I saw, is like, how do lawyers go to school for like 6 to 10 years to understand the law? Yeah. But police officers go to school for 4 months to uphold the law. Yeah. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I think more training is required, for sure.
I think that, like, more stringent, like, background checks, psych evaluations, and, like, continuous, like, updates and training is needed.
At least yearly psych evaluations.
For sure.
Like that. Like, I feel like, honestly, you should probably treat the police the way you treat the military. Like, the amount of training that military people go through is intense, right?
Yeah, it is.
And honestly, the military probably deals with the public a lot less than a police officer does, but they have the same kind of power.
Yeah, actually, something I read is, like, I think it was from the U.S., though. It was a soldier that went, and they were in Iraq, and they were saying is, like, if they have a situation where they need to shoot somebody, they have to go through this giant checklist. And then if they have to, like, try to de-escalate the situation, and if that doesn't work, then they shoot non-lethal. They shoot to, like a leg or an arm or something, like, non-lethal. And if they do accidentally kill somebody, a full investigation is launched. And if it turns out that you killed somebody that didn't need to be killed, you're like, what's the word when you're put out from service?
Discharged.
So, like, that needs to happen.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And, like, obviously the whole George Floyd thing, that was a super blatant guy, super blatant case of a police officer who was abusing his power.
Yeah, absolutely.
And killed somebody for no reason. And it doesn't matter what his background was, if he had crimes in the past or whatever. His current misdemeanor really is all it should have been, is he was trying to pay with something for a counterfeit $20 bill or something like that. I'm pretty sure it was something to do with a counterfeit $20 bill. But if that was the only thing that he did, the force that was used to subdue that person was obviously not necessary.
Yeah. And, like, to go on the counterfeit thing is, like, I worked in retail.
Yeah.
And even if... So the force was not necessary, no matter if he was the one that counterfeited that. But if we came across a counterfeit bill in retail... Yeah. We just told them, we took it into our, like, till. Yeah. We told them, this is counterfeit. We're keeping it to give to the police. So you need to find another way to pay.
Yeah.
Like, it was never on them.
Yeah. And sometimes, hey, counterfeit money gets spread around. So, like...
Yeah.
Sometimes you might not know it's a counterfeit
And, like,
money.
I had this lady and she had no idea that this was a counterfeit bill.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, oh my gosh, I am absolutely shocked. Like, I got it from a bank machine.
Well, there you go. That could have been a story too. Who knows? But yeah. Anyways, I think that people. I think that police just need more training. I think we need more
accountability.
Oh, accountability, and like the whole thing is, it's so funny where you get all these companies and all these people who are like, well, this is what we're doing because of the George Floyd murder or whatever, and we're going to start doing this, and like, that's good, but also, like, just the people who murdered that guy, just throw them in fucking jail.
Yeah, I think only one of them has been prosecuted or something like that.
Yeah. I've heard stories about the people surrounding, and I've heard that, like, one of the guys, it was like his third day on the job, and, like, he was being trained, basically, essentially.
Wow.
And, yeah, so, like, some of them I get why, like, you know, maybe you didn't do anything. Like, yes, you should have done something, but I feel like the police is a little bit kind of like the military, where you don't question the orders of your superiors, you know what I mean?
Which should change.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if somebody is ordering you to do something unethical, you should obviously question that, but, like, it's not part of the culture in the military or the police, I believe.
Did you know that in the German military, I believe it's the German military, that one of the things that every soldier is taught is that they do not have to follow an order if it does not morally resound with them. If they think that something is morally incorrect, they do not have to follow that order.
Yeah, and, like, I'm sure. Well, actually, I'm not sure. Actually, I'm sure there. I just said it again. I don't know. There might be something like that in the United States military, but how much is that abided by?
Exactly.
When you have somebody who
has this authority. Your career.
Yeah, exactly. Who has this authority over you, and like it's part of the culture. The culture needs to change too.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, the culture of policing needs to change. And I get why the culture exists. It's like, I'm sure it feels like it's them against us sometimes, or it's them against the world or whatever. And it shouldn't feel like that. It's
so many police systems around the world don't feel like that, and
it's the way policing is done. Yeah.
Yeah, like I was in Denmark last year, and there was these two police officers. They were just riding along on their horses, which was kind of funny. And my little brother was like, "Oh yeah, these are like the police officers. They just go around here. You can like ask them for directions, and they're here to help you. And like obviously, if they see you doing something wrong, they're gonna stop you. But like." He said, like, most people don't do things wrong in Denmark anyways because the police have access to their bank accounts, which in the U.S. obviously would not work out very well. Yeah. But if you get a fine, it comes right out of your bank.
Yeah. And that's just, like, I don't know. Denmark is a much smaller population, obviously.
And, like, area.
And all that. And, like, it's kind of the whole Scandinavian argument, you know. It's like, why can't we just live like Sweden, or why can't we just live like Iceland or whatever, there's barely any crime. Do you know how many people live in Iceland? It's about a 15th of the population of Calgary. It's like 200,000 people live in the whole country of Iceland. Yeah, look it up.
What?
Yeah.
No, I thought it was like the population of Calgary lived in Iceland.
No, it's like a 10th of the population of Calgary lives in Iceland.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it's so small. And like, I know that that's not like an excuse, but it is why some things work in like those Scandinavian countries and they don't in other countries. At least the United States. They have a population that's 10 times greater than our own.
That's fair. But like in Japan has a fairly large population. True. And their police officers, they have little, I don't remember what they're called, but they have little police stations along like the major roads and transitways. I've heard, I haven't been to Japan. Yeah. And they're legitimately just for helping people. Like you can stop in and be like, I lost my cat. Yeah. I don't know where I'm going. I need help like doing this or that or whatever, right? And these officers that are police officers are trained to help you. Yeah. And that's their job, is to help people.
Yeah. Yes, and I get it, but I think that like culture, I think it all boils down to culture, you know what I mean? Yeah. The Japanese culture is so much different from ours. They're taught different values growing up, where at least in the American culture, it's more of an individualistic attitude, and I think that bleeds over into Canada a lot as well.
Because the United States is so capitalistic that how could it not be individualistic?
But I mean, Japan is still a capitalist country.
Yeah, but it's leaning towards more socialist.
I don't know about that. It's very capitalistic, actually. Have you seen all the towers in Tokyo and all the crazy advertisements and the game shows and stuff like that? I feel like Japan is very capitalistic, but it has more of a focus on kind of
maybe community
values and stuff like that. And again, not saying Japan is the perfect place either, because a lot of people literally work themselves to death in Japan in office buildings. So like, there's some trade-offs there, but
yeah, but we're just talking about police force.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. Yeah, culturally, I think that the United States is very different. It's very like me against the world type attitude. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but I also don't really like. I grew up in Canada, and
so did I.
It's very similar to the United States in culture wise, and I've found that like I like other cultures better over mine. Like I don't really embrace or really enjoy the capitalistic one for like just for yourself mindset, and I try very hard to be more community oriented, and I try to do things that would be more like socialistic, I guess, because those are the values that I value. Yeah. And so I find that I resonate with other cultures a lot more than I do with my own.
To an extent, but do you buy things on Amazon?
Sometimes.
Exactly. I'm just saying, like, I think probably the majority of the people who are listening to this podcast, you've probably bought something on Amazon at some point.
But so does my brother who lives in Denmark.
Yeah, great.
Like, but everybody around the world.
But I'm just saying Amazon is a product of capitalism. It's not a product of socialism, or it's not a product of community. It's a product of one guy being like, I'm going to make a fuck ton of money.
True. But it doesn't mean I agree with those values.
Yeah, but you support them with your money.
But I try not to. If I can find a product or something that I'm looking for on Amazon close to me or in my city, I go and pick it up there.
Okay, that's great. I'm just saying, like, we kind of have to, like, yeah, it's easy to say things, but, like, also, like, where are you spending your money? Like, what do you support with your money and stuff like that? Like,
well, I try to support local, and like there are things that I haven't been able to find local that I have bought on Amazon.
And like I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with Amazon, like aside from the obvious things that are wrong with Amazon that we all know, but like, hey, I mean, everybody loves cheap books every once in a while, and even some of the people who I know who spout off the hardest socialism left-wing stuff buy things on Amazon sometimes. Like,
yeah,
it's okay.
I think it's the convenience of it.
I think that what we're really looking for is we need a mix of both. We need something that sits in the middle, because we've seen that the far left that doesn't work. The far right, that doesn't work. You have Nazis, you have communist Russia. Those things are terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, I think we need some sort of mix of both, and we just haven't really kind of found that yet.
Yeah.
At least that's my thoughts on the matter. Some people obviously have completely different thoughts on that, but
I think that we should be more like Star Trek. I think that they found the mix.
Well, go out and advocate for that. Yeah. I did actually learn a crazy fact about the United States today that kind of fits in with this whole Black Lives Matter thing. And I heard it on the Joe Rogan podcast. Just a complete caveat if you have listened to the same podcast. But I think black people or African Americans are 6 times, or the United States incarcerates African American people 6 times more than South Africa did at the height of apartheid.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's just something to think about, I guess. And for all those people who are spouting off that, you know, there isn't any racism in policing, just think about that. Like, it's the apartheid in South Africa during that time was probably one of the most racist times aside, in recent memory, aside from slavery and all that stuff. But things need to change. I think that we can all agree that what's happening right now is not conducive to the equality of all human beings. And that's what we should be striving for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. So at least those are some of the opinions that I have on...
That we have,
sorry, on the things that have been happening in this world. I think that no matter where you stand on whatever issue that we've discussed, you should not let it divide you from other people. You should not let it divide you from your community. Have conversations with people. If people don't agree with what you're saying, don't yell at them. Don't tell them they're wrong. Have conversations with people. Try and make them know where you're coming from.
I think that the difference between like arguing and talking is really putting aside what you're angry about and seeing where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And just because they won't do the same for you doesn't mean that you can't offer that to them.
Well, yeah, if you're not going to offer it to them, then how can you expect them to offer it to you?
Yeah.
If you're not willing to do it, why do you expect other people to do it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that another important thing is that every single person has lived a different life from you. Like, your life is unique and it is completely different, and the lives that people live are the foundation for their beliefs. Mm-hmm. So if they have grown up maybe in a racist household or something, and they don't have many friends who are people of color or whatever, you yelling at them that they're racist and they're wrong isn't going to fucking change their mind. It's going to make them double down on their beliefs and be like, wow, what my parents told me is right.
Yeah.
So just try and engage with people in conversation. And I know it's hard sometimes.
Actually, something pretty much exactly on the same line that I read the other day is this person who was talking about Jehovah's Witnesses. And they were saying, like, Jehovah's Witnesses mainly don't go door to door to try to convert people. That's not the main way that they convert people. They do that to show the younger members that people are evil and that their church is doing the right thing. And so when you answer the door and they're like, oh, can we chat? And you're like, no, I have to go sacrifice my child to Beelzebub or whatever you say, right?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely the one I would do.
That's just convincing them that their church is right. And it's making them harder for them to change their mind and leave if they had doubts about it. Yeah. Whereas if you interact with them and you're like, actually, no, like, I'm not interested because I have a different faith. This is what I believe. It's showing them that people of different faith aren't evil. Yeah. It's showing them that, like, they can have a different opinion. Whereas, like, if you just show people the opinion that they already have of you, if, like, you come up and you stomp up to somebody really angrily and you yell at them, like, that's just reinforcing their opinion of you.
No, definitely. I think honestly the biggest thing that you could probably take away from this podcast, whether it be the what we talked about with the masks or the Black Lives Matter movement, is that you really just need to treat people how you would like to be treated. And I know that is super basic and probably super cliche, but it's fucking true.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be yelled at and you don't want to be told you're wrong and you don't want people screaming at you, why the fuck would you do it to other people?
Yeah. And like, even if you wholeheartedly believe that you're right, doesn't mean that other people wholeheartedly don't believe that they're right.
Exactly. Everybody thinks they're fucking right. I don't know if that's a big secret, but everybody thinks that their opinions are the right ones because they are the opinions that they have formed through their life experiences and their interactions with people and their parents and their family and everything. That is who they are, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, to treat people the way that you would like to be treated.
Yes.
Treat people, if you think they're wrong, treat them the way that you would like to be treated if you were wrong.
Yeah.
And yelling at them and telling them they're wrong isn't the way that I can almost guarantee you 99.9% of people do not want to be treated that way when they're wrong.
Yeah.
They would like to be like maybe a gentle reminder in a conversation, you know?
Yeah. Or like, hey, this is the facts that I've learned.
Yeah.
Why do you think why do you think this way?
Yeah, exactly. And like we say this, and obviously we're both not perfect, and I'm sure that we get told we're wrong and we get angry all the time. Like I have for sure. And it takes me a little bit to like realize what I've done and then like come to terms with it. And honestly, it's hard to live what you preach. But just do the best you can. Mm-hmm. It's okay to admit that you're wrong. It's okay to be wrong. Just do the best that you can, you know? And
absolutely.
treat people with kindness. I think that we really just need to focus on kindness. We can't let fucking bullshit politics divide us. We can't let masks divide us. We shouldn't, at least. Like, we're all in this fucking together. This is our world. And we should treat it as such.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, on that note, I think that's a good way to end.
Sure. Sounds good to me.
This was actually a pretty this is a good conversation to start it off with and be back on. So
yep.
Thank you very much for having this conversation with me.
Thanks for having me on the podcast. It's always very interesting and fun.
It can be fun, yeah. Actually, I had a lot of fun. So it's good to be back, and it's good to start doing this again because I realized like 5 minutes in why I do this. So
yeah, you just forgot how much you loved it.
Yeah. So also a big thank you to all the people who have stuck it out with us and continue to follow and care essentially. So thank you.
You're welcome from everybody out there.
Oh wow. If you like this episode of This Is Your Brain On podcast, consider leaving a rating or a review on your podcast listening app of choice. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, basically anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find us. Help us break through those evil algorithms and reach the most amount of glorious listeners that we possibly can. And let us know how we're doing. For up-to-date information on the show, you can follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For more ways in which you can support the show, visit fsproductions.ca.